Welcome, I'm Jake Durant, and this is my presentation on my personal communication development plan for organizational leadership, course 423, Professor Zacko-Smith, November 6, 2022. Throughout the course, Communication Strategies for Leaders, I've had the opportunity to assess my communication skills and also use the Leadership Communications Capabilities Checklist. This helped me to take a better understanding of where I could improve as a leader in my communication. My personal communication goals within my organization consist of tailoring messages better towards the audience, actively approaching other managers and other leaders, and offering them my thoughts on opportunities for growth, helping to decrease the amount of personal conflict that I sometimes notice. Another goal, understanding my own triggers and emotional responses, being more aware of my own emotional self. There are exercises I'd like to utilize these goals, including soliciting feedback from my audience once I do a presentation or lead a meeting. I'd also like to create a daily dialogue between myself and other managers and keep a journal on my feelings and emotions. My targets, the next 12 months, I would like to see results. In this presentation, I'll introduce some of my strengths as well as some of my opportunities for growth. We'll look at my targets, my goals, and the programs for how I'll improve my communication skills. In this presentation, we'll take a look at my prioritized skill list from the Leadership Communication Capability Checklist. We'll discuss my communication strengths as well as my opportunities for improvement. We'll look at my communication goals and my plan for realizing these communication goals. First, let's look at this prioritized skill list. As you can see to the bottom left, there's a key. 1 being needs lots of work, and 5, excellent abilities. You've hit the great leadership paradigm, which, of course, myself, I'm still working on all of these abilities and did not score any 5s. A few 4s, and those were great. You can see on the right where I scored highest. Did well in social media, oral communication, visual communication, group and team communication, and cultural communications competence. I have areas where I could improve, such as the audience analysis and strategy, my lowest score, ethos and image I could work on, but not as much as dealing with my own feelings and internal communication. Next, we'll take a better look at the strengths and some of the achievements I've received from those strengths. Looking at my strengths, the group and team communications dynamics was my highest score in this assessment. It's my top strength. Now, my organizing and leading weekly management meetings and addressing organizational change and culture has helped me to create a better group and team communication dynamic. I've been organizing and leading these weekly scheduling meetings as well with managers for the past 18 months. The achievements. There's been a noticeable decrease in personnel conflict. We've opened up the communication. We have roundtable discussions. It's increased the employee morale by involving them in these meetings, and there's been deeper engagement from employees as we've created that connectedness. Next, my next strength, next highest score on the assessment, was visual communication. Implementing PowerPoint presentations to assist with leadership learning and training, I've worked on my visual representations of my project presentations. I'm charged with designing departmental formatting for outgoing documents because I've learned how to format properly in a professional way. Finally, oral communication. This was my third highest score. I'm routinely requested by owners and higher up managers to give impromptu speeches at company meetings. Tell them a little bit about the State of the Union, our department. Thank you everyone during Christmas parties. I've been able to become a leader of many small and large group meetings, and I consistently ask questions and engage other employees while in these meetings. I've received excellent feedback from the owners and from higher up managers for my oral communication ability. Now that I've discussed my communication strengths, let's look at the communication weaknesses or opportunities for growth that I found in this assessment. My audience analysis and strategy. This was the lowest score for this assessment and presents the largest opportunity for improvement. I've had opportunities with meetings with diverse and unique audiences. They have not always been effective and not always been successful. Often, I find that it's difficult to tailor messages according to the audience. What does the audience feel about my message, and how can I make this impact them most? Recently, we had an employee concerns meeting where I held a meeting with employees so they could address some concerns that had been brought to my attention behind closed doors. When doing so, I didn't use the proper approach and the message wasn't tailored properly. There were no agenda. These are things I'd like to improve on. Next, dealing with my own feelings. This has been something that I've constantly been working on, but it's also again still a low score on the assessment. Now I have a tendency to react rather than respond. When I'm not paying attention and I'm triggered and I don't understand what my triggers are, I tend to react emotionally, rather than respond logically. I have a difficulty recognizing other personality types and their effect on my personal behavior. There's people I just don't connect with, and I'm not entirely sure why. There's growth to be done in this area, and I've recently displayed stronger self-control during heated confrontation. We had a manager's meeting not too long ago, when one of the managers perhaps lost control of their emotions, began raising their voice in an accusatory and yelling manner. I was able to stay calm and let them vent their frustrations. Then we took a break and I came back and addressed it with them in a more productive and successful way. This was a success that I liked and I could appreciate. Finally, internal communication. This wasn't my lowest score, but it was still a low score. Now, internal communication. Sometimes I get frustrated at a lack of response through certain communication mediums. This is in large part because I have a lack of knowledge and customs from other cultures and also in how other managers prefer to receive their communication. Recently, I've been working on creating a communication protocol to eliminate a lot of the conflict in this area. I've now introduced you to my strengths and my weaknesses. Moving forward, let's look at my goal to improve each of these weaknesses, as well as the program and the target date. Starting with audience analysis and strategy. My goal is to take more time to tailor my messages so that they have more meaning to the audience. I must consider the impact of the message on that particular audience. Utilize emotional intelligence and empathy. Also, communicate objectives in a way that builds connectedness. Make it personal for that audience. How am I going to do this? That's where the program comes in. I'm going to actively involve different employees from the department, ones that aren't typically part of the meeting. I will bring them in so they can become a part of the meeting. This will challenge me. I will need to tailor my messages for that meeting so that it encompasses everyone in that room. The other audience members, the other members of the organization that I bring in will have different needs and desires for the message. I must keep a written record of what worked and what did not. I will know this by soliciting feedback from each of them. This also may have the added benefit of producing new perspectives on the message. Now my target for this. I'm looking for feedback that will show little to no misunderstanding and increase engagement from the employees by the end of 2023. Moving on to my next opportunity for growth, dealing with my own feelings. My goal is to increase my understanding of my own personal triggers. I want to recognize personal signs of emotional distress before they get too far and affect my behavior and my ability to respond logically. I want to show increased management of my personal emotions and in my responses. My program? To create a personal journal and utilize a minimum of 3 to 4 times a week for 12 months. I'll log all my emotional reactions and responses to different stimuli. I'll record reactions and consequences of those reactions, and I'll note ideas for how to respond in the future, how to be more productive. My target for this? By the end of 2023, giving me 12 months for this journal. By then, I prefer to have a strong understanding of my triggers and reactions to emotional stimuli. I want to show a significant increase in my self-management and my responding logically. Reduction in personal conflict. I want to have less conflict in my career and in my personal life. And I would like to see increased positive results from conflicts recognized. Conflicts are unavoidable, but when done right, they can actually be helpful. Some even prefer conflicts because there's always opportunity. My final weakness, or area for opportunity, should I say, internal communication. My goal. The goal for the internal communication is to develop a team charter and outline the communications protocol. This will be done by getting with each manager, include the preferences for each team member. How do they prefer to communicate? We actually began this charter last month, October of 2022, due to some frustrations and some personal conflicts. We want to become more familiar with different cultures and behaviors. There are different cultures and there are different subcultures. I want to understand how those affect behavior and communication. I want to learn to empathize with team members by personalizing their own goals and their communication needs. This will help me to be a better leader. Program. How am I going to do this? I'm going to hold a meeting to discuss personal preference for communication. We've been doing this, but we're going to continue to develop our team charter. We're also going to meet to check up on communications protocol and strategy effectiveness once a month. It's important to keep checking in. Sometimes you got to assess and reassess. My target, by the end of 2023. We'll have a reduction in communication issues noticed within the team, an increase in the team synergy and personal production. We'll have a reduction in personal conflict within the team, and those conflicts will be positive. We'll have familiarization with different subcultures within the organization. I'll get to know the subcultures, how they affect the behavior, and how they affect our overall communication strategy. In conclusion, I've introduced you to the prioritized skill list for my leadership communications assessment exercise. I've introduced you to my communication strengths, the achievements that I've garnered through those strengths. Take a look at some of my weaknesses, the lower scores on the assessment. Looked at my communication opportunities for improvement in less skilled areas. We've discussed my goals, the programs, and the targets for reaching those goals. Moving forward, it is my goal to be a great leader. You cannot be a great leader without first being a great communicator. Leaders must communicate the way, the vision, the mission, how to achieve the vision. They must be able to communicate through conflict and to rally up the troops, to bring the group together. This has been an excellent 8 weeks, and I have learned much. I look forward to improving my communications. Thank you.